Good evening everyone and welcome back to the KartSim Champions of the Future Esports UK Series. You join us here at Larkhall in Scotland for round number 3 of the UK Series this evening. And we are heading in to the second half of the season here in the UK Series. And you know what they say, Scotland forever. Well, I think the guys behind the scenes at KartSim maybe took that a little bit too literally. Double header here at Larkhall. Of course, we've already done the first of 2 rounds here at Larkhall. It was a very exciting race. So nice we had to do it twice. We're back again here at Larkhall. What a beautiful circuit. What a great venue to start, as I say, the second half of the season. Of course, 12 laps for the upcoming race around this 0.84 mile long circuit, or 1.35 kilometres if you prefer that way of measuring the circuit. Like I say, a great circuit nonetheless. We were treated to some good racing here last time out, but as maybe you would have expected, it was another run-away victory for Warwick Milam. He has been sensational so far in 2026, and hey, you'd be a smart man to put a bet on him winning again this evening, but you just don't know, because again, he was not the fastest driver in pre-qualifying. That was Ellis Beattie. Beattie comes into this pre-qualifying fastest. Let's see what he can do this evening, as Ellis is in that battle for the moment for second place in the championship. Of course, you don't know how that's going to change going through these last couple of rounds of the season, but for the moment, as you can see from the graphic on your screens, Milam is in quite the dominant position. Maximum points so far from the UK Series, 2 wins out of 2, and if you can make it 3 wins out of 3 this evening, it's going to be a real challenge at the final round of the season when we head to Wilton Mill for anyone to catch him. But like we say, Benerins and Beattie very close in their battle for second place. Both those drivers, I believe, out there racing this evening. Same again about Theodore Tubal, Ethan Miller and Alex Zicki. Look at that. There's 3 points between second and third. There's 3 points between 4th, 5th and 6th place. Very, very close in terms of the standings, and that could have a real reshuffle this evening depending on how things go for the drivers out there on the black stuff. Well, my name is John Ratcliffe. I'm going to be guiding you through all of the action here from Larkhall this evening, and we'll have to wait and see quite how much those championship standings are reshuffled by the end of this evening. Like we say, back to Scotland this evening, and a big thank you to all the guys behind the scenes here at KartSim for putting on yet another fantastic evening of racing here in 2026. The KartSim Champions of the Future Esports has been fantastic throughout this year, of course, across all 3 of the series, UK, Euro and International. Here is the calendar for the UK series. Like we say, second of the 2 double headers here at Larkhall. And then we'll be finalising the season at the end of July. So about a month and a half to wait until that final round at Wilton Mill. And we will crown the champion of the UK Series. But don't worry, there's plenty more racing across the International Series and the Euro Series as well. So after today's event, you've got a couple of weeks to wait until we're back racing once more. That'll be for round 3 of the International Series. Over to Italy there for Viterbo. What a circuit that is at the start of July. Then we move on to round 4 of the Euro Series at Kristianstad on the 15th of July. Then, like we say, that finale of the UK Series at Wilton Mill at the end of July on the 29th. Then into September, it will be round 5 of the Euro Series at Sarno. Then October, round 4 of the International Series at Muscat in Oman. Then Al Ain for round 5 in the UAE. And then Al Fassan, we stay in the UAE for round number 6. And the finalisation of the International Series as well. So we race all the way through into November. Of course, our esports calendar running in lockstep with the real calendar for Champions of the Future throughout this season. Once again, thank you so much to Champions of the Future and RGMMC as well for partnering with KartSim for this year. I know the guys behind the scenes here at KartSim and of course over at RGMMC as well have been doing a fantastic job putting all this together and bringing you some fantastic racing. Not only a treat for all of you watching at home, but also a treat for all the drivers out there as well. Finally, a proper professional esports within karting. We've needed it for so long, and KartSim are the ones to bring it to us, so a massive shout out to them. And I know there's big things going on behind the scenes, so keep your eyes peeled. And like we say, there's plenty more racing going on in 2026 here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports, and you can still get involved. Of course, you've missed quite a bit of the season now, so it's going to be unlikely you're going to launch a championship charge, but you never know. You never know. Get yourself involved. Like I say, you might not win the championship, but you're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to have some great racing out on the virtual track. head over to the KartSim website. You just need to get yourself the KartSim Champions of the Future package, the software package over on the website. Not only does it give you some brilliant content, it also basically acts as your entry into the series as well. So as soon as you purchase that, you can get yourself stuck in at your leisure with as many or as few rounds as you like. The more the merrier. Get stuck in. Now, for this evening's racing action, I do believe we've got 17 drivers out there for this evening, and they're already lapping around the Larkhall circuit. We're into practice then. 15 minutes of practice for these drivers to contend with. Now, like we always say, they've got plenty of practice already from pre-qualifying. And like we say, Ellis Beattie was your fastest driver in that pre-qualifying before tonight's event. But unlike we've seen so far this year, drivers actually have a load of experience at this track because we've already done a round. Last time out was here. So the drivers really have no excuse for being off-piste and in the walls. We've seen that a few times already here in practice, but if there's any session you're going to do it this evening, it is this one to get those calamities out of the way. Like we say then, Beattie, very quick in pre-qualifying. For the moment, 6th place here in practice. Just over 6/10 off of the time from a certain Warwick Milam. 48.729 currently that quickest time from Milam. And closest time is over a quarter of a second off. That coming from Brian Benerans. Now, as we say, Benerans involved in what could potentially be the championship battle. Certainly in the battle for second place, and that is with Ellis Beattie. They come into this one, like we say, 3 points different. So this could be a big change here. If they stay as they were, Benerans will extend his gap in second place and look to hold on to a little bit more prize money. Now, when you hear that, you're thinking, hold on a second, prize money? Suddenly I'm interested. Well, firstly, what have you been doing all season? Where have you been? Secondly, yes, there's prize money on offer here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports across all 3 of the series racing this year with a total prize value of over £5,000. This is huge here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports. I told you, this is a proper esports competition, and that means proper prizes as well. Oh dear, Beattie's parked up there. He'll be heading back to pits, and he'll be getting a fresh set of tyres on. But like we say then, championship winner in each of the 3 series will win themselves a free entry to a Champions of the Future Academy race in 2027. What a prize! That's ridiculous. And the driver gets to choose. They can either take that or they can have 25% off a full season in the Champions of the Future Academy in 2027. Now that includes a brand new car and engine, awning space, a kart trolley and a workbench, all the tyres and fuel you could possibly need, and the logistics of the materials as well. And not only that, KartSim also chucking in a £1,000 KartSim store voucher as well. Massive prize for the winner of the championship. But it doesn't stop there. This is why we're talking about that squabble between Benerans and Beattie. And as we say that, they now are very close together, maybe not on circuit, but in terms of timings, 3rd and 4th there now for Benerans and Beattie. And like we say, this is why we're chatting about it, because there's still money on the table for the drivers finishing 2nd and 3rd in the championship as well. 2nd place gets a £500 KartSim store voucher, and 3rd place a £250 KartSim store voucher. So that's what those two are squabbling over at the moment. And you never know, if things go wrong for Warwick Milam, that gap he has at the sharp end isn't insurmountable. 21 points separating Milam and Benerans. A particularly difficult round, and that gap could close to 0. So we will watch and wait and see. But for the moment, doesn't look like that's going to happen. Milam's still your fastest driver here in practice. And now it's Joshua Bailey who moves into 2nd place. Wow. Joshua Bailey is out on track. Not only that, Joshua Bailey is in 2nd position here in practice. And if you don't know, Joshua Bailey is driving with one arm. That is not a joke. He's not lost his arm, okay? It's only... it's not fully gone, thank goodness. He still has both. He just can't use one for the moment. Josh, of course, if you weren't here for the stream last time out at Larkhall, Josh sadly was not racing. Understandably so. It was only 4 days prior from that last race here at Larkhall that Josh sadly had quite a big incident at Wilton Mill in the UK kart series, having a big flip into the boot. Thankfully, a number of the drivers rushing over to assist him, but that big flip caused him to break his collarbone. So that means Josh is driving with one arm on the wheel and one arm, I would imagine, I guess, in a sling of some sorts, holding it up, making sure he's on the road to recovery. But that doesn't mean that Josh is going to stay away from racing. He's getting stuck in. Now, of course, he can't go out and race for real. He's got to make sure that arm improves and he's back to full health before he hits the racetrack once more. But a driver like Joshua Bailey, he doesn't want to be out of the seat for too long. And what's the best way? He's getting stuck in esports, because of course he is. He's on it anyway all the time. So now he's got loads more time at home and not on a track for real. He's getting even more stuck in with esports. Now, I thought it would be maybe a little bit longer before he jumped back in the hot seat, even in esports racing action. But there you go. Joshua Bailey is made of stronger stuff. And he's out there on the black stuff. And like we say, for the moment, in second place. Only 1.5 tenths off of Warwick Milam's time. And he's only using one hand. Crazy from Joshua Bailey. Well, there you go. I look forward to seeing what he gets up to in qualifying and into the race later on this evening. And fantastic to have him back with us for this race here for round number 3 of the UK series. When I saw his name on the little entry list, I thought, hold on a sec. Has this been open to enter before that crash? It must have been. And I checked. It wasn't. The entry opened the week after he had his incident. And I was like, that means he's been pre-qualifying with one arm. And then I happened to open Instagram before we went live, and I saw a post on his profile from a couple of days ago of him setting his pre-qualifying laps with only one hand. He's got quite a fair share of views as well, as it should. 76,000 views on Joshua Bailey's Instagram. It's done very well, as it should, showing his impressiveness there, driving with only one hand. Fair play. 3.5 minutes then left to go in this practice session. And like we say, Milam's still your fastest, 48.729. Now, your fastest time in pre-qualifying, like we say, was from Ellis Beattie, and that was a 48.480. So we're still about a quarter of a second, I would say, off of that ultimate pace from pre-qualifying. And maybe a little bit surprising, because when we were here last time, we had the drivers beating the pre-qualifying times relatively early on, really. I'm trying to remember if it was the end of practice or into qualifying. It was one of the two. Anyway, we beat those times relatively early on, and we smashed those times out the park as well. Not happening this evening at the moment. Milam's still a little bit off it, but we saw how much he turned up the wick when we got into qualifying last time. Maybe we can expect some more of the same here tonight. Well, I very much look forward to it either way. Great to have so many returning names on the roster as well, and great to have so many new names as well. There's a few that I'm picking out from the list on the left-hand side. Of course, we did have George Cole last round, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he was at Larkhall last time out, and got a 3rd place through his troubles as well, did George. So a very impressive outing last time out here at Larkhall, and he'll be looking for more of the same this evening, as he's already blasted his way back to 4th place. He was 3rd briefly. Ellis Beattie has just beaten that time and jumped himself up into 3rd place. A couple of other new names as well. Johnston Stewart. Welcome to Johnston Stewart. Only just less than a second off the pace at the moment is Johnston. I do believe a brand new name to KartSim Esports, if I'm not mistaken, unless maybe it was one of the rounds I missed. If it is, apologies, Johnston. But a big welcome to you. Another driver as well. Tianan O'Connor is a new name to KartSim Esports as well. He's only just behind Johnston there, so a nice easy switch for our virtual cameramen there as Tianan heads on to a new lap. I would imagine that sounds like an Irish name to me. I could be proven wrong, but that would be my assumption. So welcome, Tianan. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you the best of luck this evening. And Tianan about 1.1 seconds off the pace at the moment, but that just shows how close it is around that bubble between Johnston and Tianan. 4 places, or 5 places different almost even, and there's only 2 tenths in it between the two of them. Very, very close. Quarter of a second there, separating a number of grid slots. And, of course, that'll be big once we get into qualifying. Like we say, 15 minutes of practice. Almost coming to a close now. Into the last minute of it then. We'll soon enough move on to qualifying. That will be 10 minutes of qualifying. So, few minutes less to get those lap times in, but as we say, the drivers have got themselves back up to speed in this session now. They've dusted off the cobwebs, and they're ready to go for it in 10 minutes of qualifying. Once that's done and dusted, and we've set the grid for round number 3, the KartSim Champions of the Future Esports UK Series will head into a 12-lap race. Now, Larkhall last time out went past pretty short and sharp because this lap time is pretty short and sharp in and of itself, 48.7, like we say. Of course, it is a longer circuit, I think we can agree, when times start going over a minute in terms of kart tracks. But under 50 seconds is a particularly short one. So 12 laps goes by in almost the blink of an eye. And like we say, if you give Warwick Milam an inch, he will take a mile. That's exactly what he did last time out. Drivers were unable to battle with him through that first lap. He settled into pace and he slowly extended the gap at the lead of the race. Drove off into another postcode, claimed a victory and the maximum 75 points from that round. Warwick has been brilliant so far this season, and it is only the Euro Series when he is not leading the championship. He's leading in the UK Series and he is leading in the International Series as well. Now that was a little bit too much grass there on the exit of the corner, but as we say, we're at the end of practice and he does still have the fastest lap, but only just. Ellis Beattie, lovely final lap from Ellis Beattie, put himself within a 10th of a second of Warwick Milam's time, which he does not improve there. Final time of asking. Lexicki does. He jumps his way up into 8th place on that final lap. As Benerins gives us the style points, they're reversing it into the barrier as we bring the practice session to a close then. Drivers head back into the pits as they all see the checkered flag, and these are your results then from practice. Milam, fastest, as we maybe would have expected. But Beattie, your quickest in pre-qualifying, really bringing the heat this evening for the moment. Less than a 10th of a second between those two fastest times. And it's only less than a further 10th of a second back to 3rd place of Joshua Bailey, which, can I remind you, he's driving with one hand, ladies and gentlemen. They're in 3rd place. George Cole went 4th fastest after his P3 last time out. And Benerins rounding out the top 5 in that battle currently for 2nd in the championship with Ellis Beattie. Ethan Miller just outside of the top 5 there, but still only 3.5 tenths off of the pole time. Then it's a little bit of time then back to 7th place of Johnson Stewart. Nice final lap for him though to get up into P7. Good to see there from Johnston, and as he was followed by Alex Lexicki. Behind him, James Vow. Only 3 thousandths between those two, and finalising the top 10 there was Anson Gao. The rest of the results then from practice, it was Harvey Sargison behind at 11th. He was followed by Henry Hales, then Freddie Bailey, Victor Gerrisim, Isaac Morgan, Tianan O'Connor and Sawyer Henderson. Your 17 drivers out on the virtual track this evening, and they do head back out onto said virtual track. We get qualifying underway. And it looks as though it is Beattie leading the train, and yes it is. I don't think he came out of the pits first, but either way, he is leading the train now, and he's got some nice fresh air to crack on with this qualifying session. Now, as we say then, looking back to previous results in the season, of course, Milam with 2 victories. That is why he's looking so, well, I was going to say relaxed at the sharp end. How relaxed can you be in KartSim Esports? Because drivers are always hot on your heels, but as relaxed as he can be with maximum points so far from this season. But round number 1, it was Alexis Genelay and Theodore Tubal who joined him on the podium. Round number 2, it was Ellis Beattie and George Cole who joined him on the podium. And there was a penalty for Tubal at our last race as well, a 10-second penalty. Although that was really just compounding issues in that race, sadly, for Theodore Tubal, because he only finished 11th place on the road, dropped to 14th given that penalty, but as we can see, not racing this evening, sadly. So I think Tubal has given up on the championship. A shame. Would have liked to see him continue to get stuck in, considering as well that he is in 4th place, joint on points with Ethan Miller, and only 3 points ahead of Alex Lexicki. So Miller and Lexicki will both move through in terms of the championship standings this evening. A shame there. Tubal has been a good racer so far this year, but maybe round 3 not working in his schedule, or, like we say, that poor result from round 2 has got him a little bit frustrated. But he'll be back, I'm sure, for the International and the Euro Series later on this season. Great to have, as we say, 18 drivers out on the circuit. I was double checking that because I swear we only had 17 on the results from practice. Trying to spot which name we didn't have on the results. I'm not sure. Either way, we now have 18 out in qualifying, so I'm going to start thinking about that. Got loads of drivers out there on circuit, but who will take pole position? Every time I say pole position now, I think of that Alex Albon meme. Don't know if you know it. If you do, shout out to you. It's a great meme. For the moment, Ellis Beattie is your fastest driver out there on circuit, but of course only 1 or 2 laps having been put in for the moment, and he's about a 10th and a half off of his best time in Sector 1 as he continues on through. But look how close it is at the sharp end, 7 thousandths of a second between BT and Milam on their first laps around this Larkhall track up in Scotland. Purple Sector 2 for BT, but that won't offset his slightly poor Sector 1. Down into the final corner he goes. Can it be more of an improvement in Sector number 3 and an overall improvement on the lap time? The answer is no. Another almost 10th and a half lost in the final sector. So BT's clearly got it down in Sector number 2, but just needs to find that little bit extra in Sectors 1 and 3. Well, there goes Benerans onto a new lap, then closely followed by Johnston Stewart. It's been a good start for Stewart. Up into 4th place. He now gets relegated to 5th, courtesy of that time from Joshua Bailey. Bailey's up into 3rd place then, with himself only just over a 10th of a second off the ultimate pace for now. And we're not that far, to be fair, off of these first couple of laps. We're really not that far off ultimate pace in practice. It was a 48.8, if I'm not mistaken. Because like we said, or 48.7 even potentially. Anyway, we're very close to that time from practice. In pre-qualifying, we had a 48.4. So potential for that here in qualifying if drivers can start to get those tyres switched on. Now we're already seeing what a certain Mr. Josh Irvin and I, who sadly can't join me on commentary this evening, coined the Warwick Milam strategy, which is head out there, do an outlap, a hot lap, reset to the pits, new tyres on. Outlap, hot lap, reset to the pits, new tyres on. That's what Milam was doing at certain rounds, particularly when it was slightly hotter air temperature and track temperature underneath him as well. When we were off for the Euro Series, down to Spain and things, when things were a little bit warmer, that was very much the strategy. Maybe not quite working so well at a circuit like this here in Scotland. Like we say, those ambient temperatures going to be slightly lower, but still, some drivers playing into that strategy. We've seen Milam already in the pits early in the session, same for BT. Same for Miller as well earlier on. So drivers just trying little tactics out. We'll see who gets it right and who flies their way up to the sharp end of the grid, ready for racing action in less than 5 minutes' time. Halfway through this qualifying session then, as Bailey fights the kart through the final corner. Can he find any more time? Not on that lap. Stays in 4th place for the moment, but immediately he's going to dive onto another one. Isaac Morgan is the driver chasing him down there to those few corners, and here we look forward to Ethan Miller. Around the final corner he goes, and he is improving his time. Where does he go? Does he improve? He stays in 3rd place. Look at the time he lost there in the final sector. A shame there for Ethan Miller. Stays where he is in P3. That was almost a fantastic lap from Ethan Miller. Just ever so slight mistake in the final sector. Saw it fall away from him. Well, here comes Benerans. 2 yellow sectors for him, sadly. He'll just be setting up to start a new one now. Tiana O'Connor, the driver, following him as well. He's in 14th place at the moment. The last driver within a second of the pole time. Sadly, Sawyer Henderson, Isaac Morgan, Alain Olivic to Gerrit currently just sitting outside of that bubble. And let's see if either of them can improve, because O'Connor is only about half a tenth off of Freddie Bailey at the moment. Good to have Freddie Bailey back once again as well. He had a good performance last time out. Indeed he did. 6th place in the end, up 4 positions from his starting point on the grid. So let's see how Freddie Bailey takes to this one. Like we say, Peter on the grid then last time out. For the moment, P13, but it's very close in that area of the order. As you see, Bailey now go down the inside of O'Connor, as those two will start a new lap. And it is those two squabbling for position, really, isn't it? With only half a tenth between them in terms of overall lap time. Well, Milam's improved, hasn't he, at the sharp end? He has. Milam's gone to provisional pole then with a 48.758. Puts himself just over a tenth clear of LSBT. So they've reshuffled around. That gap goes from a 7,000th of a second swing in favour of BT to now just over a tenth swing in favour of Milam. Miller now in 3rd, Bailey now in 4th, Benerans and Cole then finalising the 3rd row of the grid. James Vout has come into the pits now, I think sticking a fresh set of tyres on, ready for the last couple of minutes, and there he exits the pits. He only needs to find just over 200ths of a second for himself to jump up a row on the grid, but can he find it? Ethan Miller will start a new lap, closely followed by Alex Liczicki. Liczicki just outside of the top 10 himself. Well, here is BT looking for those fine margins to find that bit of extra time, but he's in a bit of a train here. He's got Bailey behind him, but he's got, well, another Bailey in front of him. He's got Freddie Bailey in front of him, along with Tiana O'Connor, as now he pitches it off to the infield there. He's going to restart that one and possibly head back into the pits. He does. Same, George Cole has also come back into the pits to put bolts and new tyres on. They'll have to hot foot it round, though. They're not going to get a whole lot of time here to get more laps in. as Milam trying to find some more time. He's not quite found it in sector number 1, but less than half a tenth off of his previous best. And look at that, sector number 2, less than 200 off of his own personal best. But he could still go faster. He'll have to find a bit more here in sector number 3, though, as he uses all the grass there through the left-hand kink. Round the final corner we go. Over the line. Is it more time found for Milam? It's not. 48.998. Can't quite match his own personal best. He's all over the exit curb off of T1. That's not going to help with things as he presses on for a new lap. Well, only just over a minute left to go then in qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. Who is going to take pole position here for round number 3 of the KartSim Champions of the Future Esports UK Series? Anson Gao comes to the end of a hot lap. This is a good one for Anson. Where will this jump him to on the grid? Oh, he stays in 12th place, it seems. Yeah, a second lost in the final sector. What a shame for Anson again. Another driver hooking it up through sectors 1 and 2, but things just falling away when the pressure's on in sector number 3. Timer is about to tick below the amount of time for one lap. There it goes. Any drivers coming across the start line now will be on to their final lap of the session. Benaren's about to start his. He can't find any more time on that previous lap. He's got one more attempt to do it now. It cannot fall away from him on this one, Brian. He's going to go for it. Bit late there, down to the left-hander at 3. Misses the apex, and that's going to halt him all the way round the right-hander. Has to wait and wait and wait to put the power on, and that loses him half a second. The lap's gone, Brian. It is gone. He will not be improving. Brian will stay in 5th place. Well, if any of the other drivers can't beat him. And that maybe takes the pressure ever so slightly off of Joshua Bailey, which is good because he stuck it straight in the wall. Bailey, session over. Purple sector 1 for Milam, but he's lost it all in sector number 2. I think lap also gone here for Milam. Where is Ellis Beattie? We need to know if Ellis Beattie is improving on this last lap. To the line goes Milam, and he won't improve. Here is Beattie. He's lost half a tenth in sector number 1, but the lap is still on here for Ellis Beattie. Down through sector number 2 we go, and we're watching for the green or the purple there in sector number 2. Will it come up, or is it going to be an orange sector 2? It's green for Beattie. An improvement, but not enough. He hasn't offset that first sector. And it's this crucial final sector that has been catching so many of the drivers out. Into the final corner we go. A little wiggle from Beattie. He heads for the line. Can he get pole? He can't. By 37 thousandths of a second, he misses out on pole position. What a final sector there from Beattie to go purple in sector number 3. But it just wasn't quite enough. What a shame for Ellis Beattie. He gave it everything in that final lap, but it just wasn't meant to be. And Warwick Milam takes another pole position in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports. He is trying to make it a perfect season in the UK series, isn't he? 2 wins from 2 so far, and he lines up for round number 3 on that elusive pole position. Ellis Beattie will join him on the front row, like we say, 37 thousandths off. What a lap from Beattie, and he really is in the hunt for the championship now, especially given that his rival is down on the 3rd row of the grid. 2nd row, though, is Ethan Miller and Joshua Bailey. Look forward to seeing how that all goes. Ethan Miller's been feisty so far today, and Bailey, the one-armed assassin, is going for it there from the 2nd row. Brian Benerins and George Cole are on row number 3, with James Vout and Johnston Stewart on row number 4. Great showing from Johnston there on his first outing there on 8th place. Harvey Sargison and Alex Zicki then round out the top 10. Only 300ths between those two in terms of their lap time. Henry Hales and Freddie Bailey line up on the 6th row of the grid, with Victor Gerasim and Anson Gao on row number 7. Row 8 has Tianan O'Connor and Isaac Morgan, and then finalising the order, Sawyer Henderson and Elia Knoll. Well, there we go then. That was qualifying for round number 3 of the KartSim Champions of the Future Esports UK Series. Once again, Warwick Milam takes pole position. But that does not explain the whole story of that qualifying session. That was mightily close. And oh, so exciting there as Beattie almost stole that elusive pole position away. Couldn't quite do it. Thousandths in it. And sadly, Beattie on the wrong side of that one. And he is going to have to mount a challenge here early on to try and steal this victory away from Warwick Milam. And of course, steal a perfect championship charge away from Warwick Milam as well. We've said it throughout this season long. No matter across UK Series, Euro Series, International Series, if Milam is on pole position, the only plan of attack is get past him on the first lap. If you can't do that, there is it's looking a lot more likely that that he'll scamper off in front, and you'll struggle to have that opportunity again later on the race, because Milam is absolutely metronomic in terms of his pace, constantly improving little by little, pressing on in the race and just gapping his rivals like nobody's business. Well, he is a tough cookie to crack, is Mr. Warwick Milam, especially here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports. He has proven himself in the virtual world this season, and my goodness, can anyone beat him here at Larkhall? We look forward for racing action to get underway here up in Scotland once more for our double header of haggis here in Scotland. We get ready for more racing action. Drivers about to line up on the grid then, as that's not ideal for Brian Bennerins in fifth. He's wiggling the wheel, but it's making him go backwards. So he's moved further out of his grid spot than he should have been before. Can he reset and rejoin? He's way off his grid spot now. Well, anyway, I'll leave that up to him. He's put himself out of position. So, unlucky Brian. Well, there we go then. He had the inside line for the first corner. Whether he does now on the getaway, we'll have to wait and see. Not too long to wait, though. Lights are coming on here at Larkhall. We get ready for racing here at round number 3. Lights go out now. Let's get racing here in Scotland, and side by side into the first couple of corners already, but it's Milam with the inside line. He'll squeeze BT off to the exit curb, and we see if all drivers make it through. They don't. We got Milam off to the exit. A couple more drivers following him through as well. We got Milam going to the inside line. Sorry, Bailey it was off on the first lap. Milam very much still on the black stuff and very much still back to the lead. Bailey's off in the background as well. It's chaos in this first lap. Milam's on the grass. Milam's lost the race lead. He's down to 4th place as Bennerins is through to the lead. Now going side by side with Miller. Down into sector number 2. Beatty with a send up the inside. Contact. And the leaders around. Milam's back up to 2nd place. Bennerins is off in the background. Now contact with George Cole. This has been one of the most chaotic starts in KartSim Esports this season. That was ridiculous. Somehow, Milam's back up to 2nd place. Beatty now leads the race. And Johnston Stewart is into 3rd place. What a chaotic start on that first lap. Off we go. On to lap number 2 then. And Warwick Milam is looking to chase down Ellis Beatty. Didn't see what happened there, how he got squeezed onto the grass, but either way he did. Lost that time. Of course, grass not as grippy as tarmac. There's a bit of a fun fact for you. And he lost a bit of time then, didn't he? Slipping back into 4th place. And then it was a bit argy-bargy ahead. He managed to pick his way through nicely, kept himself out of trouble. Back into 2nd now, and let's see. I think this has got to be first time this season, really, when we've seen Milam become the chaser. He's always been the chased, and he has always won. Let's see what he does in the chaser role. BT, the pressure's on. Well, already BT and Milam looking to drop the rest of the field, and understandably Johnston Stewart there in 3rd place, struggling to match the pace of the top 2. He's only dropped back by a couple of kart lengths, but I imagine that will increase over the rest of the race. Saying that, though, he has got about a 3/4 of a second gap back to Liczicki, so a fantastic start for Johnston Stewart there in 3rd place. And Liczicki has pressure of his own. Miller, Cole, Sargison, Joshua Bailey, Victor Garrison, Anson Gow, all the rest of the field basically involved in that train right behind him. Garrison's had a great start as well. He was down in 16th, 17th place, I think, when he started this race. Up into P9 already goes Victor Garrison. He's squabbling with Anson Gow. This is the bottom end of the top 10, these three. And look at Brian Bennerins, down to 11th place. What a shame for Bennerins. It was 5th last time out here at this circuit. And it's been an even worse start, sadly, for Bennerins in this one. Down to P11. He's got a lot of work to do. But as we say, laps already quickly ticking by. This is a short circuit here at Larkhall, and opportunities are difficult to come by to get moves done. We turn our attention back to the sharp end, even if briefly. For the moment, BT keeping Milam at arm's length. But for how much longer will that continue? Gap still around 4/10 of a second. Pretty similar to how it was on the previous lap. We saw in pre-qualifying how close these two were on ultimate lap time. We saw in qualifying how close these two were in terms of overall lap time. And in the race, we're seeing that yet again, these two matching each other. And the question now is really if Warwick Milam can get close enough to be in distance to make an overtake. Because we know that Milam can make a move, but can he get close enough? Let's wait and see. We drop back into the pack for the moment, though, as your squabble for 3rd continues. Liczicki just not quite close enough to get stuck in, and for the moment, he's very much looking in those imaginary mirrors. Ethan Miller hot on his heels. As we've seen, Miller's been impressive so far this evening and so far this season. And he wants a bit better than the top 5, given he lost a couple of places off of that race start with that argy-bargy first lap. I think the stewards will definitely be looking into that one. Of course, like we say, this is a professional esports series. There are stewards and penalties post-race. So drivers have got to be careful. And if you're thinking about getting stuck in, it's not just a free-for-all. This is a proper esports racing series. And if you do anything silly, it will be punished. So we'll wait and see if that first lap shenanigan shuffles up the race order by the checkered flag. Well, for the moment, we focus on what's going on in front of our eyes, and what I can see on the left-hand side of your screen on the timing tower is the gap increasing for BT. He's just put in a new fastest lap of the race, 48.646. We've beaten the pole time from qualifying, and that gap now over half a second. Now, frustratingly for Milan, he's still right there. He's right there in front of him, but ever so slightly getting further away. And that's just meaning Milan unable to try and send a cheeky move. And we're already halfway through this race. I told you, everything will happen pretty quickly. And my goodness, it is. BT and Milan continue on then. Johnson Stewart still in third place. Now with almost a second between himself and Lukzicki. Johnson Stewart has settled into this race really, really nicely. Fair play to Johnson Stewart. He could be on for a maiden podium here. And what I'm pretty sure is his first ever KartSim Champions of the Future Esports race. What a showing this would be from Johnston Stewart. And I'm hearing through my ears as well, he was a late entry to tonight's event as well, so maybe not a huge amount of prep time as well. Johnston Stewart is blowing this one out of the water. Fantastic. And continuing to put a bit of fresh air between himself and Lukzicki. Turning our attention to Lukzicki, though, he is under so much pressure here from Ethan Miller. Fantastic. Miller all over him here for 4th place. Can he get a move done, though? Well, will we see similar frustrations that we've seen from Milan so far in this race? The stat gap's now over 1 and a bit seconds. I think Milan might have made a mistake here on that lap. That gap opened up massively only a few moments ago. Squabbles up and down the order, though. Here's Joshua Bailey and George Cole now going side by side. Bailey is through. And Joshua Bailey back through on George Cole. And again, to remind you, he's doing this race with only one arm, ladies and gentlemen. And Bailey still there in 6th place. Of course, he's lost a few points to his championship charge. Missing out on race number 2, which is a shame. 57 points from round 1, of course 0 from round number 2, which is not going to help things. But Bailey's getting stuck in once again, and he's there in 6th place for the moment, past George Cole. Now, can they close back up to Miller and Lukzicki? Really, they need for Miller to go for a cheeky move here and hold up Miller and Lukzicki, and maybe Bailey and Cole might have a shout at the top 5 finish. We'll have to wait and see. But behind them as well, plenty of things happening, but ahead, that gap continuing to increase. Have we finally met the match of Warwick Milan? Well, it couldn't have happened if it weren't for that rather aggressive race start, shall we say. It was an interesting one. Not to call out anyone in particular, but like I say, Stewards might be having a look. The Stewards are going to be working overtime. Anyway, looking back to on-track action, amazing that BT's extended that gap to over a second. It's just dropped under a second once again. So Milan's found a little bit of extra time, but still, we have never seen anyone get in the lead and drive away from Warwick Milan. This is a first for KartSim Champions of the Future Esports in 2026, and my goodness, if that carries on through the season, we're going to have a very interesting, climactic second half. Make sure you're with us. Subscribe to the KartSim YouTube channel and subscribe to the Champions of the Future YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss out on any of the action from KartSim Champions of the Future Esports. More moves going on. There's Vout down the inside of Henderson. Nice move from James. Gets 14th place away from Sawyer there as they continue to squabble for 14th place. Looks like Lionel and Isaac Morgan behind them are having a good battle as well. Those two squabbling over 16th place as we look back to them. Those two in a very similar position, nose to tail as they head out the corner and down to finish another lap of this race. And Morgan has Tiana O'Connor just hanging on behind in 18th place. Did a good race, good first race from Tiana. But look at the gap. It's back to what it was about 5 laps ago. What's happened? A little bit late into the corner there from Milan, but could we see a late charge here from Warwick Milan? It would be oh so Milan, wouldn't it, to catch up over these last couple of laps and get the move done. Well, he is as close as he has ever been throughout this race. On to the penultimate lap of the race we go here for round number 3 of the KartSim Champions of the Future Esports UK Series, and Milan is on the back of BT. This is it. When's he going to go for the move? Turn 3 could be cheeky if he gets a nice exit. He won't be quite close enough We'll have to think again about that one. Round the long right-hander of 4 we go. It's all about the exit, and my goodness, Milam has smashed the exit using the slipstream up towards 5. He's too far back, surely, for 5, and he is. But he just moves to the inside line there, tries to catch BT off guard and maybe force him into a mistake. He does the same down to this heavy braking left-hander, but again, BT weathers the storm. This is fantastic from Ellis BT. And again, I think Milam is sizing up Ellis here, ready for the final lap. Speaking of, we're about to head on to it, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Into the final corner goes Ellis BT and more at Milam, and BT's made a mistake. He goes slightly wide. Milam can't make the most of it. He looks back to the inside line, but he can't quite grab it. Knew it would have been too aggressive, and there might have been some contact. He doesn't want a penalty this late on. Up the inside, he looks for it, but BT covers it off. Down into turn 3, we continue nose to tail. Milam's looking for the exit. Has he got it? He cuts back to the inside line. He'll use the slipstream as best he can, but I think BT has done enough here to hold on. He looks for the inside line, but again, a little fake out there from Milam. Then swings back to the left, opens up the corner exit. He's got the run, but can he use it? Gets sent to the outside line, and BT holds firm on the inside and keeps the place. But again, big overtaking opportunity here into the right, but oh, does BT know it? And all crossed up into the braking zone goes Warwick Milam. He's got one final opportunity to get this race win away, and it's the final corner, but BT will surely cover it. Down through they go, the final corner, and he can't do it. Ellis BT wins in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports, and what a victory for Ellis BT, his first of the season, and he had to fight for that one. Not only did he have to fight, he had to fight with a driver that has been oh so dominant throughout this year. Hats off to Ellis BT. What a race. Beneficial on the first lap, but had to fight nonetheless, and then was metronomic in that pace. The word I only ever use for Warwick Milam. Ellis, I'm using it for you as well. That pace was epic to extend that gap to a 1.5 seconds, but classic Milam closes the gap in the second half and just keeps us on our toes there for the last couple of laps. He tried everything, didn't he, there to get past BT, and he couldn't quite do it. Every attack he threw at BT, BT had an answer for, and he defended like a lion, and BT takes his first win of the year. Milam has to settle for second, and thus does not get his perfect score for the UK Series in 2026. He has to settle for second place on the podium. Johnston Stewart with a maiden podium on his first ever race in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports. Take a bow, Johnston. What a race from you. Alex Zicki, Ethan Miller round out the top 5. The one-armed assassin of Joshua Bailey finishes in 6th as well. Fair play to you, Joshua. He was followed by George Cole, Harvey Sargerson, Brian Bennerans back to 9th there for Brian, but he'll still be frustrated with that one after that early drop to 11th in the first couple of laps. Freddie Bailey then rounding out the top 10. Another good race from Freddie. He was followed by Anson Gow, Henry Hales, Victor Garrison, James Vow, Sawyer Henderson, Isaac Morgan, Tiana O'Connor, and Elia Knoll there, ending the order of 18. Well, there we go. My goodness, I need to sit down after that one. I thought the most excited I would get this evening is for the England game, but no, I should have known. KartSim Champions of the Future Esports once again does not disappoint. Epic racing there from all the drivers involved, and what a battle for the victory. Taking his first victory there, fantastic stuff. What an evening of racing. That has livened up the championship. Make sure you join us for the finale of the UK Series on the 29th of July. That's when we head to Wilton Mill. But that's not the next race up for KartSim Esports. KartSim Champions of the Future Esports round number 3 of the International Series is up next for Viterbo in Italy on the 1st of July. Subscribe to the KartSim channel, subscribe to the Champions of the Future channel as well to not miss out the coverage on that. And if you want to get involved yourself, head over to the KartSim website. You'll find all the details there to get yourself involved as well. What a race we were treated to this evening. And the last thing to say then is come on, England. First game of the group this evening. Let's go, boys. Make sure you join us for the next round of the International Series on the 1st of July, and of course the finale of the UK Series on the 29th of July. What a race here from Scotland, and from all of us here at KartSim. Thank you so much for watching, and for